Attention! Any and all men with adult children who are currently employees of the Lego Corporation, call your kid. Seriously, they've made like 3 of these Lego movies now, and all 3 are about neglectful, absent, or otherwise crummy father figures, so at least one of you done messed up, okay? So get on the phone and Cat Stevens that shit. Lego Ninjago, he said, as though he had any clue what the hell this was about until looking it up a few hours before watching the movie, is a line of Pan-Asian martial arts themed toys from the Lego brand that comprises one of the company's most popular lines not based on a pre-existing licensed franchise, having been spun off into a popular Cartoon Network series in 2011, which I think is still on the air now. In any case, it's basically a Lego riff on the Power Rangers Super Sentai thing about teenagers who serve as a team of color-coded, elementally powered ninja who defend a quasi-East Asian civilization from an evil warlord, with the situation eventually complicated by said warlord's son becoming one of the good guys. Somewhat confusingly, the Lego Ninjago movie is an adaptation of the toys, but not the movie or continuation of the show, despite featuring the same characters, central scenario, and literally the same building blocks. You see, whereas the series features characters, vehicles, and some settings that maintain the design of being Lego toys but are otherwise traditionally animated and has a humorous but otherwise straight-faced approach to its own apparently very complicated mythology, the movie borrows the self-conscious conceit from the previous 2 Lego features, i.e. everything is designed to look like it's made of actual plastic Lego bricks, animated to mimic the appearance of stop-motion animation, and the characters are all aware of the interchangeable plastic nature of themselves and their world, and the mythos has been completely retooled into a more simplified setup in order to facilitate a similarly self-effacing parody of, well, Power Rangers very specifically, but also kung fu, superhero, and anime tropes. So yeah, basically this is Lego borrowing the cheeky yet earnest self-satire makes it okay that this is a commercial gimmick from the first Lego movie and Lego Batman to give a marketing push to one of the wholly Lego-owned properties, which kind of feels like the point where we're right up to the edge of this whole thing going from cute to cynical, but it'll have to wait at least one more movie because this is actually a lot of fun. Not nearly as good as the other 2, but that's a really high bar, and on its own merits, Ninjago is a brisk, fun, clever little movie. Story-wise, the idea is that the city of Ninjago is subject to regular attacks by the forces of the evil Lord Garmadon, but he's regularly repelled by the local superhero team, who are technically ninja, but have lately relied on piloting giant robot mechs to get the job done, somewhat to the consternation of their master, Sensei Wu. Our main character is a kid named Lloyd, whose life sucks because everyone knows he's Garmadon's son, the villain having apparently run out on the family when he was a baby, and treats him like crap because of this, not realizing that he's also the very popular green member of the ninja team. It's all very circa mid-60s high school era Spider-Man business. As noted, for some reason the Lego movies are all preoccupied with daddy issues, and Ninjago is surprisingly specifically about dealing with a deadbeat dad who also happens to be basically the Shredder. The main plot kicks into gear when, after an especially trying day of dealing with all of this, Lloyd decides to use a forbidden ultimate weapon that unleashes a destructive force, which also happens to be the film's best joke by far, and one that the trailers really should not have given away, because I won't, which doesn't hurt Garmadon, but does destroy all the mechs and imperil the city, forcing the heroes to go back to their core ninja roots and undertake a perilous journey to unlock new powers, eventually joined by Garmadon, it's kind of complicated and weird, in order to facilitate the rest of Lloyd's character development. It's all very silly. This is very much the least substantive of the Lego production so far, and in terms of storytelling, the one that leans the hardest on the we're acknowledging that this is a contrivance in order to excuse that it's contrived joke and awkward plotting. It's also skewing a lot younger than the others, which makes sense given that, unlike Batman, this is a relatively new property whose fan base seems to be largely 12 and under, but it also means that the genre parody gags feel very much aimed at kids who haven't heard a lot of these well-worn jokes about secret identities, kung fu cliches, and father-son villain-hero pairings. Basically, if you're old enough to find yourself noticing that the real-world Jackie Chan starring framing device is almost identical to a real-world Jackie Chan starring framing device from an earlier movie, you're probably outside the target demographic for this one. On the other hand, the everything is made of toys isn't that funny thing is still funny and working. The Ninjago toys are a really interesting looking line of pieces, and the conceit of the world makes even the most basic mundane scenes feel beautiful and fun to look at. The action business with the multi-tiered fighting between the giant robots and regular bad guy minions are incredibly impressive from an animation standpoint. It's kind of amazing how much better this spoof of Power Rangers is than the actual Power Rangers movie. Maybe they just should have done this. And they're also trying out some new subtle twists on the animation formula. The individual figure toys look a lot more played with this time around, and while all the people, vehicles, tools, buildings, and all that are still made of Lego, natural stuff like water, earth, plants, fire, sand are all real, though still to scale. So like a jungle is clearly just full of giant regular garden plants and torches are just mash heads. It's a fun dynamic. Speaking of dynamics, yeah, it's repetitive to realize they're doing another father-son story with another bad guy who runs his evil empire like a mid-grade CEO, with another magical MacGuffin that's really just a common element from the real world, but the character stuff really works here. The voices are well picked, the staging hits the right notes of sincerity between all the winking self-parody, and the main back and forth with Lloyd and Garmadon is compelling and well executed in context. I feel like in the details there's enough shaky plotting and lack of depth to make this like a 2.5 star, but I'm gonna say 3. I had a lot of fun with this.